But we started thinking about what do teachers need in order to best help these students. So these kids came up with 8 traits that they think that teachers need, and we called it the teacher toolbox. So that was something that we passed out on the sign-in table. So we're going to use this as our guide for our discussion. And if at any time you have a question, though, there's no formal question and answer session, so just raise your hand, and there's a special treat for you, Candy.
Anyone who can catch.
Alex is working on her skills today. So we will start right in. Alex, you're number 1.
Right. Number 1 is have compassion. Please realize that some things are very hard for you. I'm not trying to be difficult, really. You must understand that every student feels different than everyone else. Basically, compassion is trickier than most people think. I like to think that a person's either born with compassion or they just aren't. And it's okay to be born with or without compassion, but if you don't have compassion, please have understanding. Now, an example of this would be, say a student had a very bad fear of Post-it notes or something like that. Something kind of small to you but big for them. Like, put yourself in their shoes. Imagine life being afraid of Post-it notes or afraid of like paper clips or something like that. It can be very hard to live that life, and sometimes like even little things scare people more than they would scare you. So it's always good to put yourself in other people's shoes.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Number 2?
Mm-hmm. Number 2, respect confidentiality. Nikki?
Oh yeah. Respect confidentiality. I am choosing to share my struggles with you, but I am not ready for I'm not ready for the rest of the class or even the whole school to know just yet. It is important to keep our secrets because some students or other people may make some assumptions about us. This can definitely refer to strangers. If we just told like a stranger that we are autistic, that means he may come up with some pretty bad assumptions.
So how does this factor in with making friends and maintaining friendships? Clavon?
Well, making friends for students who have autism or Aspergers is like the most important priority. So we want friends to accept us for who we are, but if other people hear rumors about us, they might make false accusations and don't want to be friends with us. So it's best if we talk to them and say none of those rumors are true. And the rumors are true. They only said that because they made a false accusation that just because we're autistic we might do certain things. Like in my case, people find out that I was autistic. They thought that if I touched them, they would get a horrible disease. So people avoided me a lot. So apparently, I hardly had any friends back at elementary school. I was alone. But after I got Martin Luther King, I met people who felt the same way I did. And after a while, I didn't feel alone no more. I met people who were a lot like me in a way. Mm-hmm. So it's never nice to make false accusations because if you, that person might not like you. Always find the truth. Never assume.
So one thing that came up in one of our other sessions, a teacher asked a great question about when group work is being done in the classrooms, how does it work best? So do you guys want to, I can't remember who now, but someone had a really great way of saying how they work best with a group of other students. Clavon?
I said that basically if you work in a group of people that you are very familiar with, like someone you grew up, someone you know since you were tiny type, talking to them will be easy as pie. But when it comes to sitting at a table with somebody you don't know that much, it might be difficult. You would just sit in the back. And don't say anything. You sit and don't say anything. So basically, maybe if you sit. So I thought if you sit in a table that has half the people you know on this side and half people you don't know on that side, if those students all come together and talk about one topic, they might all become very good friends. They might all become very good friends, and that person won't be shy no more.
Good. other comments on our confidentiality or our friendships that we were talking about, why it's hard to make friends? Vinny?
Oh, yes. About socialization. I made this little journal, by the way.
He's going to write a book. He started.
Let's see. The social world is a fun-loving, magical place, but it's a really dangerous one, too. Yes, sir. There is a bunch of jerks who now rule the social world. They're sweat-hog people who rather care for their pride and how powerful they are. So, that's the reason why I'm very shy. And I don't like meeting other people. I mean, I get very scared when I meet other people. Like, I do this when I meet new people. But recently, my shyness is getting a little too much, and I'm tired of hiding. So I'm planning to have a Twitter account sometime soon. If my mother allows me.
Number 3, have patience.
Okay, number 3. Claiborne's the master of ceremonies now.
Oh, yes. Yes. Number 3, have patience. I did hear your question, but I need a little extra time to process and come up with a response. I may need some extra time for assignments and tests too. Let us take our time with tasks to better understand. So pretty much, please just wait for the student to finish whatever they want. Me, let the students take their time, whatever they want to do. Me, whatever assignments they are given to me. What's the point of rushing?
We find that they need an increased wait time when you ask a question. It really is helpful. The student might appear to only be just staring at their paper or staring at the table, but really they're processing what you ask them and also how they want to answer you, because they might be thinking in their mind exactly what they want to say, but then for them to be able to turn that around and spit it out of their mouth basically takes a little bit of extra time for them to do. So they need that increased wait time. Is really helpful.
And a good strategy that you guys can use in your classes is if you know that there's going to be 2 or 3 questions or even one question that you know that you're going to ask, if you could have it on a note card and give it to them when they come in the room and say, I'm going to be calling on you for this question, so that they have time to process their response and they know they can expect that they're going to be called on. Our kids love to participate, but sometimes they're hesitant because they're afraid, to be on that spot if you're going to call on them and they're not going to be ready to give an answer.
Your brain is like a machine. And basically, if you call on them, the machine will stop working. It'll just get all tangled up in gears. So it's always great to give them just a teeny bit, a little wait time. So that way the machine will keep on flowing, and that way they'll process the answer you're looking for better.
Mr. Campbell, did you want to intervene?
Yeah, piggybacking off of what Mrs. Riley said, students, when answering questions, might not appear to be giving you the eye contact and the rapt attention that you're used to. And we had a lot of great examples of how eye contact can be a source of stress or anxiety, but from all of my experiences this year, wherever the students are looking, if they're fidgeting with things, they're coming up with the best possible way of answering the question.
Maybe this would be a good time. Who can jump in about eye contact?
I do.
Kevin?
Well, for me, eye contact, I don't really have a problem with. I just like to look at other people in the eye. I will say this, sometimes I do like look around when I'm talking, and I can't help it sometimes, but I have to focus on eye contact a little bit more and still looking at other people in the eye. But for the most part, I don't have a problem with eye contact.
Okay.
That's one example, but then on the other hand, there are others.
Vinny?
Oh, yes. Let's see. I have trouble with eye contact with people. There is something scary and painful about eye contact with people, especially mean people. The only reason I feel like that because they want to hurt me or do something bad. So, I'd rather look at the ground than people if this is the case.
And Nikki, you had a great explanation, a good example.
Now, eye contact. In my opinion, it's like it's like as if my brain is all of a sudden magnetic, and I put like a magnetic like a magnet right close to my head. It's sort of like, you know, I can't say like when I'm trying to look at Mrs. Riley and I you know, and I just don't, and I just look away from her, although I want to look at her. It sort of feels like that. It's like a magnet.
A lot of times, you know, when we talk to our students or our own kids, we think that they're not paying attention to us because they're not looking at us. And how many times do you say, look at me, I'm talking to you? For these kids, that is very painful. I mean, it truly is physically painful for them. They just can't look at you. So it's not being disrespectful. They're not trying to, you know, ignore you. It's just that they really have a difficult time. Alex?
Okay, this might sound a bit weird, but for some reason, when I look into people's eyes, I feel kind of calmer. I don't know.
So
Maybe
that's
it's just
it.
about looking at the designs in their eyes or something, but it's just me.
So for you, that's helpful.
Then also you have, if you're trying to get the student to look at you and pay attention, look at my eyes, now that's the only thing they're thinking about. If you're asking them a question and saying, you know, I'm looking at you, look me in the eye, now they're focused on looking in your eyes and they have no idea what you just asked them and they don't know what answer they're supposed to give you now because they're so focused on trying to look at your eyes that they sometimes can't do anything else but that. So it can be distracting for them as well.
This is also a really nice example of how all of our students handle the same issue differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which leaves us to number 4.
Can Davon do number 4, Davon? Is that okay? Go ahead, Davon.
Much don't punch. Sometimes I can't be sentence. So if you push me to do something, I can get very anxious or upset. I know I need to try new things, but it works best if you give me small nudges and let me do it in my own time.
Good. So can we elaborate on this, Davon?
Basically, if you have an autistic student and they can be very sensitive, and if you push them, they might get very anxious or upset. But if you give them a slight nudge, that way they will know that you care about their feelings and they are urging you to try your best to answer that question. It doesn't like if it's no right or wrong answer, you just get any answer. But if the student don't know the answer, they just get upset. But if you just slightly nudge them, they will slowly understand that you care, and you are giving them all the time they need to better understand the question.
Davon, did you want to add?
It does very important on what he just said.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we do a lot of nudging.
So some people, it kind of hard what is nudge is. And some people, it's kind of hard to get rid of the old nudge to a new nudge.
Yes.
It's kind of hard.
So we need to, when we nudge our students, we find that if there's going to be a new experience coming up or we're transitioning a student to take a class outside of our class, we can't normally just do that. Oh, you know what? Today is the day you're going to go to that new class. That's something that has to be progressive over time. We have to talk about it first. We have to introduce them to the teacher. We have to show them where the classroom is. So all of those little nudges have to take place in order for the student to feel safe and comfortable to do that.
And
Clavon and Alex, go ahead.
of course the class will seem a little hard at first because you don't know anybody in the classroom other than your teacher and friends. But once you realize it, you will slowly begin to warm into the class, and before you know it, you will like it, and you won't be able to wait to go there.
Alex?
Okay, I'm going to make this a little shorter than it was last time. But basically, when I was a little girl, from 1st grade up until like the start of 6th grade, I had a very, very bad clothing sensitivity, especially with pants. Like, I couldn't wear jeans or anything. It was just very hard. And whenever my mom would tell me to try on pants and my dad, it would push me and it would make me nervous and just make it worse. So one day I was at the store with my sister and she picks up a pair of jeans, knowing of course that at the time I couldn't try on jeans. So I looked at her funny and I was like, what are those? And she was like, why don't you just try on these jeans? And I was like, well, I don't really think that's a good idea. And she's like, okay. And she puts them on a rack. She's like, I'm going to leave them right here. And she walks away. And I look at the jeans, try them on, and once they're on, they just feel like a sweatpants would. And ever since then, my clothing sensitivity has been gone.
So you overcame your clothing sensitivity by
easing
thinking
into
about
it.
it for a little while and then trying them on.
Definitely.
But you did it in your own time, right?
Yeah, and I knew even if I wouldn't have tried on the pants.
Like it happened to me too. Like sometimes I have a food problem. Like back at my old school Greenfield, I didn't like strawberries. My old teacher, Miss Barnes, she slowly nudged me to give them a try. So I took a small bite out of a strawberry and I thought it was gonna be gross, but turns out it wasn't. And ever since the day, I love strawberries.
Oh, I'm a big fan of strawberries.
We can have strawberry convention next time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
Which leads us to number 5. Be flexible.
Yep. Yep, be flexible. I know I'm rigid sometimes and I am working on that, but I work best with someone who is flexible. Giving me a choice between 2 activities or letting me fidget with something while I work may help me. It's important for teachers to be okay with change and or differences.
Does somebody want to elaborate or
So
give an
basically-
example?
So basically, if you're saying, if an autistic, so basically saying, if any of it in your class, if an autistic student is rigid, that might be because they're stuck on either a math or a science problem that they can't figure out. So if you just give them a chance between, give them a chance between 2 activities, or letting them fidget or somewhat, that will somewhat make them flexible, and that will somewhat ease them out to better understand the question, and they'll come up with an answer sooner or later. I prefer sooner.
Kevin, you had your hand up?
Oh yes.
For fidgets?
Well, I have fidget with pipe cleaners before, and I can like make things of them, like those pantographs like you see on light rail cars or possibly sometimes Amtrak trains, and I just kind of like wave them across just because it makes me think of that, and it's very fun to do.
So,
Helps me to stay.
Because it reminds you of what?
It reminds me of pantographs.
Yeah, what do they remind you of, or what do they make you think of? What do you go and watch all the time?
Oh, trains. They made me think of trains.
Which makes you feel happy and calm,
Yes.
right? So that's how the fidgets help you get happy and calm.
Yes.
so sometimes our students will fidget, or what we call stim, which is short for stimulate. So do you guys want to talk about stimming and fidgeting a little bit? Nikki?
Well, stimming is sort of something like called fidgeting, or so like you spin on something or you play with something, just to make you feel calm or to get you focused. And sometimes stimming is not just those. If you are guilty of shaking your leg, tapping your pen, popping your gun, twirling your hair, those are things that those are all the things you do to stay focused or calm. And so it is, and it's considered stimming.
Yvonne?
I'm going to piggyback off what Nikki said. I had and still have a special pencil that has tape all wrapped around the top, and I just give it a good shake. I used to do it here in school, but my teacher said that's not very good because once I change classes, people might see what's wrong with me. So I leave it at home. And when I don't have it here in the school, I find something else to fidget with. It's a good thing we have a leisure center in our classroom so you can pick what to fidget with.
I was not the teacher that told them. It's not allowed to do that, but it's probably better that it's at home, right?
Really? Are you sure we moved to that?
Yes.
Because you sugarcoated it. Because you sugarcoated that.
How about,
You didn't say it in a way.
Nikki and Minnie, you have some stuff that you do.
Oh,
that
yeah,
helps you stay focused.
We mess with paper clips in the classroom.
She said earlier that these two, she said to the last, I don't know, 4 people, to the four class students, they like to murder her bobby pins.
Not my bobby pins, my paper clips.
Clips. Same thing.
They like the paper clip in your hair.
They like to murder her paper clips.
And if we do, and also we like the spin stuff. I sort of have like a special I have like a glow. You know those little bags they keep glow sticks in? Yeah. Yeah. And they make like a big stick made out of 3 Crayola markers and wrapped around duct tape and sometimes black tape because we don't always trust duct tape.
So when our students have items that they like to use for stimming purposes that aren't as age appropriate maybe, or that may be distracting to other students, we try to substitute other things like using paper clips. Velcro under a desk may be helpful for a student.
Stress balls.
Yeah.
That they keep even at the end of pencil boxes and things.
We haven't used stress balls.
To get some stress balls.
Yes, Alex, your example is a good
Oh,
one.
right. Okay. So when I'm feeling just not too anxious, but in the middle, sometimes when I'm going into these situations, I like to do this. And it's very discreet to do. Anyone can do it when I'm feeling anxious because it really helps, and deep breaths don't work for me. I just stick them close to my body, right? And I just do this. Very
What do
slow.
you call it?
I call it yoga fingers.
It's kind of doing yoga, like with your fingers.
Not my idea, by the way. All credit to my therapist.
So one thing we struggle with, or we're as teachers, we're quick to tell our students to put things away when they're doodling or when they're playing with them. But think of how many times you sit through day-long PE sessions and you find yourself drawing pictures on the bottom of your paper or finding something to fidget with. And so, these students are proof that, I know Vinny, show me would you mind showing them your orange paper? He will draw like this all day long, but still fully participate in my class. And so I think, it's one of those things where you have to think about each student differently. Like he's able to do this, and this actually helps him participate better because it keeps him focused.
She's evil.
Okay, so Claiborne, are you gonna?
Which leads us to number 6. Have a thick skin. Sometimes, basically in your class, if a student is somewhat irritated and you give them a tiny drop of criticism, they might just lose it. They will do things, they will say things, they will sometimes do things without thinking, and sometimes say things without filtering them. This is not because to hurt your feelings. This is because they take things really personally. So if you ever say things like, say your desk is dirty, you're doing your work, and if they get mad, that's only because they took it personally. It's not because they're not going to hurt your feelings. And if a student is fixated on some things, you need to understand it's not personal against you. Please be understanding and have thick skin. In other words, have a hard shell.
Yes, so we call Claiborne the fashion.
I'm here though.
I know you are.
I'm here though.
If I ever want to know if an outfit looks good, I just wear it because he will tell me.
I do
So
not.
that's something we work on in class. I taught Claiborne in middle school, and now I have him again. So Andrew, and so we go way back. So we talk about, while I might be able to take that from him, he can't walk up to a brand new person that he's never met and say your outfit's ugly, which he doesn't do. But that's something that we work on, and Mrs. Riley, you were talking about.
Yeah, I had a student one time who I woke up late, I was running late to work, and I didn't have time to blow dry and straighten my hair. My hair's curly when I don't straighten it. And I came to work that way, and one of my kids looked at me and said, "What happened to your hair?" And I said, "Well, I was running late, I didn't have time to dry and straighten it." They said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." I said, "Okay, so curly hair is not a good look for me." And they didn't mean to hurt my feelings, and my feelings weren't hurt because I was teaching the student for 4 years, but they don't have that filter that you just don't go up to somebody and say, "What happened to your hair?" So you have to teach them and practice that kind of a thing. I do what I can. I put on a horrible desk sometimes. I put on a horrible desk.
But all the time she tells us to stay organized, but she's like opposite of not staying organized.
Thank you. Just keep calling me out.
I'm sorry, I just have to be honest. I just have to be honest.
Alright then, let's go on to number 7.
Alrighty then, keep an open mind. Please do not make assumptions just because I have a label of Aspergers or autism. Be willing to accept everyone and understand differences. We are all students first.
So basically what he's trying to say is that if you make false accusations, that person, just because a student has autism or Asperger's and whether they act, talk, or do, or what they do, and you end up making false accusations about that person, and they will get very upset with you. Like, they will say, why'd you make that lie? That is not true. And they'll say, you just assume that because I have autism or Asperger's. Well, that's not very friendly, and the person will get very upset with you. And they might not want to be friends with you anymore. And they might not want to be friends with you anymore. Of course, they'll be a little irritated at first, but if the person's really kind and understanding, they might get over it and say they'll do it again.
Okay. Why don't we do number 8, and then we haven't had any questions. So why don't we do number 8?
Which leads us to number 8, believe in me. People with autism have done some pretty amazing things in life. But we all know our limits. We've all been there. We all have limits. None of us are perfect. We all have limits. Just because we get stuck sometimes doesn't mean we can't do it. If we all believe in ourselves, that we have confidence and courage, we can keep on trying no matter how long it takes. No matter how long it takes.
Yeah.
Very good. Can we have some questions?
Any questions? Not one?
Not a quiet group.
I'll give it a rest.
Alright, sounds like all the candy.
She wants to throw candy really badly.
Yeah.
Just to throw it. You have a question?
Yes, I do. I'm wondering, what do you think is the most challenging thing about being autistic, and what is the best thing about it?
Well, the most challenging thing for me is eye contact. If I look at a person, I have a picture of them a horrible, ugly monster. And I prefer not to look at them directly in their faces because I don't know what I might see. A head full of snakes or horrible scales. But the most easiest thing for me is that I can understand subjects in any way.
The most challenging thing for me is probably knowing that constant barrier. Like, I know it might not make much sense, but like, wanting to step out the house and do that, when I talk to people sometimes in conversation and I just stop abruptly, knowing that barrier is there can get so frustrating after a while, and it can make you sad. But the best thing about having Asperger's and a fixation and stuff like that is basically when a kid with Asperger's or autism has a fixation, they know so much about it that it can help them out. Because for me, it hasn't just been one fixation my whole life. It's been multiple fixations. So when I move out of the last one, I can take the information and use it in a time where I need it. So it's a big learning experience.
Mr. Campbell?
I don't know how to catch.
Oh, get another one, Alex. We'll get that one later.
Crawl under the table, Mrs. Reese.
Mr. Campbell.
Alex, talking about these barriers, could you give the wagon example that you used?
Yeah.
They haven't heard it.
That's a good example.
Okay, going to a conversation with someone with anxiety, and when you stop abruptly, when the person with anxiety stops abruptly in a conversation, it's almost like, picture yourself wheeling a wheelbarrow. Have you ever pushed the wagon or something up the hill, and you're kind of on the grass, and it just stops, the wheel's stuck in this little, hole, or, yeah. And you have to go through a lot just to get the wheel out of the rut. That's how it feels, because you have to, shut down and start back up like a computer, or something like that.
Is anybody else going to answer Mrs. Freeze's question about challenges? And go ahead.
I think the most challenging and most horrible thing to do is either the barrier thing Alex just mentioned, or eye contact, or the school subject, math.
Oh no.
Math.
Watch this. Are you ready?
Such as I have.
Long division.
Okay.
What's rewarding?
Okay.
What's rewarding
Probably
about
English.
having
Okay.
autism?
Look at that.
I know other stuff. The fact that everyone accepts me that I have autism.
Well, for me, math was one of the easiest subjects that I could think of. When it comes to me, numbers, math, numbers just come so easily to me. I mean, I write numbers a lot, 24/7, but that's just for people's, but that's just for your ages. It's for your age or how old you are.
Vinny and then Davon, and we're going to be out of time. Go ahead.
Let's see. The most challenging part about autism is socializing. It's painful for me and my sensory troubles. I hate loud sounds. Literally.
So do
How about yelling?
Loud sounds are such a pain. In fact, I put on these little babes called earplugs. I have them too. I put them on my ears to block out loud sounds in the hall.
I use my headphones.
And what's rewarding about having autism?
That I'm a good visual drawer. Remember this?
And I'm a good writer. My autism helps me write perfect by amazing, incredible stories. Of course, you all seen them. Of course, you all seen them.
Davon.
I just hyper man.
You're a hyper man.
Because I listen to music and also I'm a writer for 3 years now.
He's been writing for different
And the
newspapers.
worst part is,
Eye-opener.
and the part of it is,
3 years.
he has energy so early in the morning. He
does have energy in the morning.
Most of the people Alex calls me and him robots because I don't sweat in front of her, and Devon don't sweat. Because I don't sweat in front of her, and Devon don't show any feeling, and Devon don't show no emotion but one.
Okay, I think our panel is starting to get a little.
I think so too. Are there any other questions before? Yeah.
No, it's not so much a question
Okay.
as a comment. I just wanted to really thank you guys for stepping up to share your experiences with me. I had the opportunity to teach a student that had Asperger's many, many years ago, and I really wish that I would have had this opportunity to meet with you all before I taught that student. This would have been really, really helpful for the challenges that we both had to go through in that aspect. So I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for stepping up like this. I know it can't be easy. It's never easy to speak in front of a group of peers or, in this case, a bunch of teachers. So thank you very much for doing this. Very gracious.
Hey, Alex, you can drink candy. And one more?
Yeah, I just have a comment to make also. I think that if you guys were all, especially those of you who are talking about eye contact, if you were in Africa or in any other traditional setting, you would be very much appreciated because, you know, the adults do not want you to look at them like this in the eye because that's actually disrespect. So, yeah, that was very good.
Cultural.
You're living in the wrong place.
That's why I love being African American.
Davon, did you want to read our thank you?
That's why I love being African
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you guys so much.
That's why I love being African American.
Go ahead, Dave. Davon's going to give our final word. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate all you fans think Dr. learning about labels of Asperger's and autistic support and different ways to help us successful.
Succeed.
We can't forget all of our artwork and our T-shirts were done by Alex.
This lovely young lady. We hope to see you all again very soon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow, see you.